We start with bridges.
Okay.
A bridge could mean many things.
Mm-hmm.
A dialogue, like what we have right now, a dialogue between history, present day, the young and the old, focusing on fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Designers have a dialogue with their customers
Yes.
through the product.
Yes.
For you, what do you consider as a bridge?
Yeah, the bridge, and also in psychoanalytic and psychological terms, it's like a link. So for me, a bridge is, and I think in fashion too, is about a link between our interior world and outside world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in fashion now it's very important to build this kind of bridge, because fashion is much more. It sounds a little bit paradoxal, absurd, but it's much more about emotion, about desire, about visions. So the problem is how to put together the personal vision of the designer with the outside world. And I think that the future of the fashion designer, but of every one of us, and think about social networks, think about Facebook, think about Twitter. Everyone shows something of himself or herself, of her personal world. It doesn't matter if it's true, but it matters that I can know Philip or I
Yes.
can know another person through Facebook. So I think that designers now they have to build a personal vision, this kind of bridge into the psychological insight, into we use this term, into their soul and the world. So maybe merchandising or marketing has to count to this new exigence or this new
Game, let's
yes.
say.
This is much more emotional things.
You mentioned emotion twice.
Yes.
Why is emotion so important as an ingredient to these bridges you're referring to?
Because I think that we live in a very connected world. But the strange thing that the dark side of this very connected world, in which social network connected every one of us, maybe cannot hide the real me, the real you. So it's very important because, in these days and in the fashion now, we speak a lot about authenticity, originality, craftsmanship. And actually, when I have to write or to judge a show, my first thought is about how this designer can relate himself or herself to the customers, to the world, to the marketing. And I think because now, in the Occident, but now, I don't know, in the Eastern world too, we don't need fashion. We need desire. We need emotion. And I will do an example. I was speaking with Mr. Alessi. Alessi is very well known for coffee, and he told me I have to anticipate the desire of my customers, of my clients, before they conceive the desire. And now the new marketing is about emotion, is about desire, is about something that you could want, but you don't want now.
Antonio, do you think there's still room for creation?
I think so. Maybe not in official field for, I believe a lot in the mixture of art, of fashion. We live in a real postmodern period. So it's high and low, it's, Tarantino movie with this very popular form, but it's very refined. And I think it's in the mix of high and low in culture and very easy culture.
Yes.
And because especially in Italy, we were used to consider, high literature, high fashion. We have a long tradition of this big division between the intellectual and the people. But I think that now it's a good moment to mix it all up together.
Focusing on that, on the weight of history and heritage, as you just mentioned. Do you think that Florence can become once again the center for something innovative like it was during the Renaissance years? Something so strong with an impact?
I think yes, but okay, think about what could be Florence in the Renaissance times.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Michelangelo and you see, I don't know, the fresco and you see beautiful things, but think that at the moment they are so contemporary, they were so modern, they were so, okay, we can say avant-garde. Mm-hmm. So why don't replicate these kind of things today?
The behavior?
Because, sorry?
The behavior or the actual...
The behavior, yes, it's like a process. When the Pope called Michelangelo, and Michelangelo painted nude figure in the Cappella Sistina in Roma. Okay, Roma is another city, but it was a shock. Think about
but it worked.
Caravaggio. It was really, really modern. So why don't we replicate the Renaissance system now in Florence?
How do you think we can do that?
I think trying to find a new language, but based on our culture, on the culture, because I believe that the new bet of the 21st century is how to put together in the same speech, in the same show, in the same exhibition, your personal world and outside world, your heritage, the heritage of your people, the Italian heritage of craftsmanship, of, I don't know, very well done materials, and at the same time to speak a universal language. This is the big bet.
Last night I went for a walk.
Okay.
And a friend of mine said, if you remove all the cars from Florence, the Florence looks exactly, or at least 99% of it looks exactly how it used to be back then.
Yes.
And now we're talking about turning Florence again to something current, modern, where new ideas can breathe. And how do you think we can do that?
I think that beautiful has so much beautiful location, so much beautiful places. And I think they're so perfect to put something really, really provocative and contemporary inside, because they were modern, so our duty is to put something real contemporary inside them. So it's a beautiful places, it's a beautiful location where to go. I think then they need a little bit much more courage, because there's a lot of fear about money, about amount. It's the moment of modern creativity, but always in dialogue with the past, because we're Italians. Like the Japanese have the beautiful heritage, and the Chinese too, and I don't know, the Brazilians too.
But you don't appreciate your own.
Sorry?
But you don't appreciate your own heritage as Italians.
I appreciate my own heritage. I am Italian, my DNA is Italian, but I can think that my heritage must dialogue with a different heritage.
So can we have some kind of a bridge?
Yes. Absolutely. Maybe courage could be a mantra for the next years.
Antonio, does fashion have a political role?
Absolutely, yes.
In what way?
Yes, absolutely. Fashion has always been a political statement, always. I will do an example. I was invited in an Italian TV to comment the day after Obama elections, and I said to the journalist, For example, it was not the case that Michelle Obama wear a dress that she used before. And it was a real political statement. And the undertext was, I'm like you. I can use the same dress that I used to. I don't know, I cannot think about Laura Bush doing the same thing. And I think fashion is politic. It's always been a political issue. Not only about the difference between rich and poor, because now, in these days, in our culture, it's easy to be in fashion.
It's accessible.
Yes, it's accessible.
More than it used to
you
be.
know, in French, they used to say l'air du temps. L'air du temps, the air of the time.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's okay. You can be stylish. You can be cool, even if you are not rich. So the difference is no more. Okay, 2 centuries ago, 50 years ago, was a political statement between rich and poor. Now the new luxury is about, for me, is about emotion, is about feelings, it's not about money. But this is a political statement too. And I think this, think about punk, where the look, maybe we lost the power to identify ourselves politically, but I'm old, so I remember that in the 70s in Italy, we can distinguish different politician side from the way the people were, with the Eskimo or with the blue blazer. So fashion has always been a political statement, absolutely, always.
Is logo the new fetish?
Oh,
Because it does bring together society,
yes.
rich and poor. I mean, you can see a really poor woman, someone who is not
Okay.
as rich holding a Louis Vuitton bag because she saved money for 2 years to buy it, and the same bag, another woman who is rich holding the same bag. So in a way, these two women are connected by a bag. Why do you think this phenomenon is happening? We get aroused by the logo and luxury.
Absolutely get aroused by the logo because I think I can say to you that we are still aroused, sexually aroused too, by the logo. And but the new way for me is because now, okay, it's simple. Because think about Prada. Prada makes some very luxury and expensive items and some accessible items like keyring or tricks. Do you remember the tricks of Prada? So there are a wide range of products. So the people who's not so rich can be a logo like the very rich lady. I think in the future the fetish logo maybe will be transferred on bodies. So we'll have a
But what do you
Dior body or I don't know, Prada body. It's about surgery. It's I don't know. I want to have a Hedi Slimane body. Maybe the future is in that. In the,
Sorry,
in the logo transferred on our skin. I saw lots of young skinhead with tattoos like Chanel,
Yeah.
and maybe a form of protest. But I think maybe in the future, the logo, the fetishism of the logo will be transferred on the body. I want to have. Louis Vuitton breast, tits.
Why do you think humans are so linked to their clothes or a certain designer?
Because clothes are language.
Is the language
It's
one needs to
it's a
learn, or-
not verbal language. Yes, it's a language we can learn. Some one of us is so lucky that has inside of him or her this kind of style, of personal style. So, but I think we can learn fashion, we can learn style, and it's now I think it's very interesting the construction of my own personal language and your or personal language through the clothes. So absolutely, people is so linked. So you know, it's like it's not fetish, but something like that, because they represent ourselves to the world. And maybe we can be a liar. If I want, I can
Pretend to be someone else.
pretend to be, I don't know, very rich banker. Because now the relationship with fashion and the possibility to speak, it's like to speak different languages. So, and the behavior of the consumer, it's much more, how can you say, smart, and so I think that people is beginning to have fun with fashion. So they are so linked because it's like to have a personal vocabulary and the words of your personal vocabulary, and you don't lose your personal word so easily.
Why do you think that, let's say, staying on fetish, let's say lace and leather has such a strong impact and linked to sex directly?
Oh yes, because I think it's always the same speech I was doing before, because they're so close to the skin. And maybe skin is the new frontier, is the new border to overcome. And lace and leather and latex, if you think about it, the thing they have in common, they revelate the shape of the body, but they cover the body, and maybe sometimes they build the silhouette of the body, but they're so close to the skin. And is on this strange perversion of is a real skin, is a fake skin, is what you see through with lace, or I don't know, even latex. That latex could be very structured, so we can invent a new shape of the body.
So are we becoming monsters of our own kind, you think?
Sorry?
Are we becoming monsters of our own kind?
Monsters, you know, yes, I hope so, and really hard.
What is a monster for you?
You know, monsters in Italian, the name is mostro. It comes from the Latin, is monere, and maybe in mostrare, and this is to show. And so in the ancient Latin and Roman culture, monstrum was the example to represent sins, or to represent fault, or to represent something strange or bizarre or weird. So I think that in this kind of sense, our duty is to be monsters, because the monsters are very different. I don't know if you saw a monster looks like another monster. They are very different.
Yes.
They are always different. So I think that the fashion monster could be a good exception for these days.
So, do you think that monsters are retro today?
Maybe yes, in the collective culture, and maybe we feel a kind of nostalgia, a kind of sickness for the monsters, like in the movies of the 50s, of the 60s. You remember Godzilla or something like that, because it was like there are real monsters today. There's pollution, there is wars, there is virus, and so the real monsters, man, maybe that we don't see them. And so in the retro exception, like the movie, the sci-fi movie, maybe we love them. We like that kind of monsters, because it's very difficult to face the new real monsters from here, I don't know, virus, wars.
And how about fashion? Does fashion give birth to monsters?
Sorry?
Does fashion give birth to monsters?
Absolutely, yes.
Do you have examples?
In both ways, yes. Okay, in the in a good exception, in a good way, think about Lady Gaga. You know, Lady Gaga, the Little Monsters, they make the monsters a statement of their philosophy. So everyone of us has their own dignity, but she's a monster, a fashion monster. She's always changing, and she's a very pop. She's very popular, but at the same time, she's absolutely not stupid. She's very smart. She's very intelligent, and what we expect from her is absolutely transformation, and it's from a monster into another monster. And so I think that yes, fashion can give birth to the monster. On the other side, on the dark side, I hope there will be not any monsters like the fashion in the 80s. Because, you know, there is a famous philosopher, I don't remember the name, was Italian, who wrote the worst monsters. The worst monsters are what happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, not 50 years ago. So when I think about myself and my pictures in the 80s, say, what a monster. So on the dark side, I don't want to see this kind of use of using fashion. So, you know, so obedient.
But can a monster be something positive? Does it always have to be something negative?
Absolutely, yes. No, the monster is positive. It's positive because every case it's a manifesto for difference. Because we are on the same, in the same ground, but a monster could be a good slogan, a good manifesto for every kind of person. So absolutely, the monster may be the new protagonist of the culture in 21st century.